Hello, amazing people. So we are finally about to start the Burnout Trigger playlist. So excited. I'll start off with this amazing talk that I was a part of, where I was speaking about the imposter syndrome. And oftentimes you will see two different kinds of triggers. It will either be a surface level trigger or it will be a really deep dive root trigger that is causing all the things that's happening. This falls into the first category, which is like a trigger that exists for a lot of people. Imposter syndrome. I have a conversation about it with my wonderful friend Diana Popa, and she's amazing at what she does. She talks to a lot of people and creates these amazing videos. This is kind of similar to a TED talk, so I'd say just go check it out. There is a great way for you to figure out if you have the imposter syndrome and what you can do to overcome it. So check it out right now.
Okay, we are live again.
Yay.
Welcome, Madhurima, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. I am excited to have you here, Madhurima. I am really looking forward to hearing more from you. But first of all, her introduction. Madhurima is a burnout soul coach from India. She helps creative solopreneurs and coaches conquer their callings by helping them overcome and prevent burnouts. She loves to focus on all the reasons that can lead to burnout, like mindset blocks, limitations, blurry boundaries, and work-life balance, to name just a few. This is done by focusing on internal gaps, such as the imposter syndrome, mental health issues, and more. Her mission as a burnout soul coach is to convert difficult work environments into healthy workplaces by raising awareness around burnout with the help of coaching. The ultimate aim is to enable those who are shaping not only our future, but also our present. And if she can enable even a handful of them to continue sharing their creative and innovative perspective with the world, that's enough. And today she's going to talk to us about overcoming the imposter syndrome to share your message. Welcome, Adriana. Thank you so much for being today with me.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. Yay, I'm so excited. Thank you for that.
I am also excited. I am really excited to have you here. The floor is yours. The talk is yours.
Awesome. So as we get into it, like let's just jump into it, right? Like, how many of you all have felt like an imposter? And no, I am not talking about the About Us game where we would get a turn to be an imposter and murder our game mates. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the overwhelming dread we get when we start something new around, oh my God, am I fit to be talking about this or sharing my message with the world? How many of you all have felt that? I can't see you live, but if you raise your hands, I'm like happy about that. That's good to hear. You know, if some of you all are raising your hands behind the screens, I'm glad, because otherwise this talk would basically go to waste. Anyways, I'm Madhurima. Diana has already introduced me, but just in a very brief way, I help people get freedom from burnouts and limiting beliefs to, get the freedom so that they can reconnect with themselves, express themselves, and love themselves to their fullest capacity. At the end of the day, we all want to share our perspective, and sharing our perspective is how we change the world or bring something new and better to the world. So what stops us in all of this? The imposter syndrome. And as we dive deeper into it, before we go into that, I want to ask you, I'm pretty sure a few of you all are wondering, how am I a good person to talk about this? Like, I talk about burnouts, I help people overcome burnouts, but how is imposter syndrome linked to it? I'm pretty sure I am feeling the feeling of being caught as being an imposter, which I did, Diana, to be honest. When I was first preparing for this interview, I was just like, or this talk, I was like, am I the right person to be talking about imposter syndrome? I don't know if I can handle it, right? Like, this is my first time doing a talk show where I'm the solo speaker, right? Like, it's not like someone's interviewing me. And I was like, I'm not sure if I'm the right person for this, but if if you guys are excited to know why I'm still here and sharing my message, stay tuned till the end of the talk, because I'll tell you more about how you can overcome it. Now, the reason why imposter syndrome and burnout is so deeply linked to each other is because when we are feeling like an imposter, we overwork ourselves in the hopes to prove ourselves and our worth to the world and our own selves, right? And doing this, it is a very pointless goal because there are no boundaries. And when there is a goal with no boundaries that are set, we pour too much of ourselves into it till the point that there's nothing of us left. And if you do this repetitively over time, it can lead to burnout, right? And we all do this in the hopes to reach a point where we can confidently say, I deserve to share my message with the world. But guess what? There will be times when you never feel like this. I kid you not. So there is this story. I was recently a part of LinkedIn Spark event, and they had many amazing guests, one of them being Ryan Reynolds. And he was sharing this thing about how he still feels like an imposter sometimes when he's pitching his movies to production teams, to the world. And I was just like, yo, this man has over 30 years of experience in the film industry. If he still feels like an imposter, I mean, okay, I can give myself a bit of grace. And the reason why I'm talking about grace here is very important. When we feel like an imposter, it can, we are like, do I even deserve to do this? We view ourselves from a very negative place, that do I even deserve to do this? The reason, that phrase, do I even deserve to say this, is a very arbitrary phrase, because there is no standard that will say that, oh yes, now you deserve to speak about it. Because if Ryan Reynolds, having done so many movies, still feels like an imposter sometimes, I mean, there are no set standards. This is something that is a very natural process. So it's time we stop beating ourselves up about it, right? It's time we stop, when we are already feeling negative, we blame ourselves a bit more when we are feeling like an imposter. And that adds to all of that negativity and all that, and you feel more bad about yourself, instead of hoping that if you beat yourself up about it, you'll feel better. You won't. You'll feel worse at the end of the thing. So again, stay tuned till the end, because I'll be talking about how you can overcome this, right? How we can overcome feeling like an imposter. Now, again, another question for you guys. I'm pretty sure some of you all are wondering, why am I here to talk about imposter syndrome? This is a very well-known topic, and so many people have said so much about the imposter syndrome, which is a good thing, to be honest, because at the end of the day, their stories matter, their experiences matter. Now, if you all have been a fan of Game of Thrones and you hated the season ending as much as I did, um, no matter what, one thing that genuinely resonated with me was that stories is what makes cultures, defines people, defines traditions. And it is our stories that matter, right? And story is a very key important word. So I want you guys to remember this throughout the talk, because it will keep coming up. The reason why I am here is to share a couple of stories that are not my own and share a story that is my own, so that you can understand what it feels like to be an imposter. Like, I'm pretty sure you already do, but I want you to help, I want to help you overcome it, right? Not get stuck in the story that you say. And we'll talk more about it. But experiences, um this is again an amazing word, because we all have so much experience, right? Like, people judge us based on our experiences. And there is this story that I wanted to share with you all about Neil Gaiman. He's an amazing author, one of my favorite authors, to be honest. And he's written some great books such as The Sandman, Good Omens, which was recently converted into a TV show, which is on Amazon Prime, one of my favorite shows with some great actors. Now, Neil Gaiman was invited to an event. I know a couple of you guys must have already heard the story, if you have heard enough about imposter syndrome, or if you have been searching on Google about how can I get rid of imposter syndrome, the story might have come up. But for the sake of me and this talk, just listen in, because I want to share the story no matter what, and let this be a reminder to you, right? We sometimes forget the stories that we hear because we get caught up in our own. So let this be a reminder. Now, Neil Gaiman was invited to a sci-fi event. There were amazing, amazing people over there. There were astronauts, there were sciencey people. I say sciencey, I have been a part of the sciencey world, and I can say that proudly, so don't judge me when I say sciencey. There were sciencey people, there were authors, there were astronauts, all these amazing, amazing people from the science world. And he felt like an imposter. He was like, do I even deserve to be here? Like, am I, can I ask for a space to be, can I occupy the space that is given to me here. And he felt very awkward about it, and he was speaking to another person with the same name, right? And he was feeling like an imposter as well, like, oh my god, there are so many astronauts here, there are so many sciencey people here that have done so much to progress the world, and I'm just here. And then Neil Gaiman goes, bro, you were the first man to walk on earth. I'm pretty sure you deserve to be here. So he was talking to Neil Armstrong, and he was feeling like he was unworthy of being in a space that was filled with people who have progressed science, right? Who have made an impact in the science world. And the reason why I share this story is because if Neil Armstrong, people like Neil Gaiman, people like Ryan Reynolds can feel the imposter creeping in, it's okay if you do too. It's completely all right, right? Now, the reason why we feel the imposter syndrome come in is very specific. I think that all of us have a set of triggers. I like to call it a cocktail of triggers that fuel our imposter. For me, it was hard work and not working hard enough to earn my space in the world. Let me share my story with you guys. I come from India, where the competition is at an all-time high, right? And I was studying, I was preparing for getting a seat in a medical college. Now, the thing about Indian competition is you lose your seat by a couple of marks, right? If you lose 2 marks, it sends you back 2,000, 3,000 people. Is that fierce. And I was preparing for it day in, day out. I was sleeping like 5 hours for a day, but that was about it. And even then I was dreaming about studying hard and working hard. And my life has pretty much been an example of that, where I am working extremely hard to show up, to earn my space in the world. Unfortunately, I didn't get the medical seat, but I'm glad where I am right now. So because it led me to talking to you guys about imposter syndrome. The reason why I felt like an imposter was when I began my coaching journey during the pandemic. It was crazy. You know why? Because it felt very easy. Being a coach came so easily to me. I I had the opportunity to create a space for people, to create a container for people to come in, share their stories, work on their stories so that they can be a higher version of themselves. And all I had to do was sit there, listen to them, and ask them questions, right? And I know it's not easy, but it came easy to me, right? And I was just like, I feel like an imposter. And I felt like an imposter because I wasn't working hard enough. Like this came easy to me. So easily it came to me that I felt like an imposter because I wasn't working hard enough. Right. Like, yes, of course, I've heard about smart work and stuff like that, but I wasn't working hard enough to actually get my space in the coaching world. It was extremely weird. And this created numerous scenarios where fear came into place. So what happens when you have an imposter syndrome is basically it creates a small space for fear to take place. And that fear was like, if you're not working hard enough, you're not doing it right, and you'll probably hurt a lot of people by coaching them wrong, so you should stop doing this, right? That's what imposter syndrome does. It takes up space, that space that you had to share your message with the world. It takes up that space and invites fear to sit in there. And that fear is so strong because it's fueled by your imposter syndrome that you are this close to giving up. I'm sorry, I have a bad nose. Excuse me.
That
You're
happens.
this.
That's why we are live. And everything can happen.
I know, right? And so you're actually this close to giving up, and I almost gave up. I gave up being a coach because my fear was so strong and it fueled my overthinking abilities, which don't have to work too hard for it. Because I was just like, I don't want to hurt someone unintentionally. I'm doing a very bad thing because I'm not working hard enough. And it took me a couple of months to actually get to the core of it, to get to the reason why I was feeling this fear. Why was I overthinking so much? And it all came from being an imposter. And that imposter originated from that one single thought, right? All it takes is a thought, that one single thought, that one single story that I was telling myself, that because I didn't work hard enough, I didn't deserve to hold space for other people. I should be working harder. I should be doing so much. And I'm not saying this that, just because I became a coach, I was like, hallelujah, and I stopped working. No, I was continuously researching, I was continuously studying. But it still is there, right? Like that small nickel, that small thought can change the way you view the world. So the reason why I'm sharing this story is because I want you guys to recognize your own stories. This is how you identify your triggers. This is how you define your triggers. Focus on the story that you're telling yourself. For example, if you are feeling like an imposter right now, listen to how you speak to yourself, both in the good and the bad moments regarding a particular situation in which you're feeling like an imposter. Is it, oh God, I can't believe I made this amazing thing? Or is it, I am so stupid, I can't even figure out the simple mistake? These thoughts then build up into a story that you tell yourself, and it is fueled by fear. It is fueled by our ego trying to protect ourselves from not going into the deep dive and not changing and creating something new, because ego is always trying to protect us. It's always saying, no, 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 you're safe where you are, don't move ahead. But we have to move ahead because we don't want to stay here. If you got a message, if you are sitting there with a message to share with the world and you are staying silent, that's the biggest injustice you can do to yourself. No one else is doing it to you, you're doing it to yourself. Because that message is so important, because where that one single thought can create this imposter syndrome and can create a space for fear, your one single message can likewise create a space for hope for other people. And by you staying silent, you're depriving the people in need who actually have to hear your message. You're depriving them of this thought, of this message. And that's a huge, huge injustice, which is why I'm here. I want you guys to listen to the stories you tell yourself. No matter how many stories you listen to, no matter how many people's experiences you listen to, no matter how many people's talks you listen to around imposter syndrome, it won't do you anything if you don't listen to your own story, if you don't listen to what you are saying to yourself. Take a deeper dive into the stories and figure out what's the cause, what's the originating thought, right? And then ask yourself, is this cause serving me, right? Or are you no longer in a position where it serves you? For example, going back to my story, when I was back in college, working hard was important. It was something that I needed to do so that I could get a seat in a college. This cause was serving me then. It's no longer serving me now. Now it is all about being present for the people. So you have to continuously question the thoughts that come up for you. Is this serving me any longer? If it is not serving you, what is another thought that can actually serve you? For me, that thought was, I don't have to work hard to prove my worth to the world. The world genuinely doesn't care because it has the attention span of a goldfish. They'll congratulate you for 5 minutes and move on to the next hypey topic that they listen to, right? The world doesn't care. You need to create a space, you need to work hard. And for me, working hard now means learning more about people, listening to stories, listening to experiences, because that's how I can help people better themselves. It's stories that matter. And that's why I'm telling you guys that it's the story that you tell to yourself that matters. It's what you're listening to yourself, like genuinely sit down and listen to your own stories, because the one thing about stories that we tell to ourselves is we never listen. It's going on in the background like a loop, like a broken record. It's going on. You're not worth it. You're not worth it. You're not worth it. You're not worth it. And while you're like, yeah, sure, I'm not worth it, you actually don't dive deeper into it. You never question that thought. Like, why am I not worth it? I have worked so damn hard to reach here. Why am I not worth it? Right? You have to constantly question yourself. You have to, and not question yourself in a bad way where you reach this place that you question every single thing about yourself. More along the lines of, if this cause is serving you any longer or not. If it is not serving you, what can you do? Because that's how you undo the imposter syndrome. Right? When I was feeling like an imposter to do this talk, I was like, why do I feel this way? And it was as simple as, oh, I have never done live shows where I am the one who, like I am the one who's not interviewing people. I'm the one being interviewed and I don't even have questions to go. to kind of rest upon. I'm talking like a crazy person. I'm rambling, and I was not sure if people are actually going to listen to me, if you guys are actually going to be like, yes, this makes sense. And so that's where the imposter came from. And I was like, it's pointless what I'm going to talk about if I can't listen to the own thing that I'm saying. That share your message, because if I stay silent, I know a couple of you, at least one person out there is resonating with this and is going like, oh, that makes so much sense. And if one of you guys are doing that, type yes in the chat. Diana will tell me later if you are feeling, if you're resonating with this. But even if a single person is resonating out there with what I'm saying, that's enough for me. Right. And that's how I undid my imposter. I was like, are you genuinely scared of people not asking you questions? You ask people questions so many times. Ask yourself questions and create a talk, for God's sake, woman. Like, calm down. So you have to constantly be in communication with yourself. You have to talk yourself. And to be honest, I'm going to, end this with a couple of stories. If you still feel like an imposter, I just wanted to tell you this one story that my coach told me, which was very simple. It was the story of a light switch, right? So if there are four people in the room and it's completely dark, and you're the one who's closest to the light switch, it is your job to switch on the light switch. It genuinely is. Because we feel like an imposter because we feel like we haven't learned enough, we haven't done enough to be able to guide people. But if there are four people or three people behind you and you're the closest to the light switch, it's your job to bring that moment of lightness in their lives, because you're closest to the light switch. It's as simple as that. And kind of piggybacking on that story is this one thing that I always used to share right from the beginning of my journey as a coach, which was very simple. It was, imagine that you're on a path, right? There is this one road to a destination, and everyone's starting at different points of times. There are a few people who are starting ahead of you, there are a few people who are starting behind you, and you're just starting. It is the job of the people who are starting ahead of you to guide you on that journey, and it is your job to guide the ones who are starting behind you, right? At the end of the day, it's just that. It is not a matter of superiority. It's not a matter of I am the expert, I am the one true truth. So many people have different stories, but if you can guide them with your experience, with your message, that's what matters, right? So I want to ask you this one thing, and it is very simple. It is, if you believe that you have the power and you have a message worthy of saying, a message that is handwritten on your soul, why are you not sharing it? Right? Because guess what? At the end of the day, no matter what, you are the only person standing in the way of your own success. That's it. You're the only one standing in the way of your own success. So I'm gonna leave you with that thought and end my end my talk here. Thank you, Diana, for giving me this
Wow.
opportunity.
Let me give you a round of applause. Thank you so much, Madhurima. Impressive and
Thank you.
really inspiring. And I fully find myself in everything you told me, in everything you've told us, and all the tips are definitely very valuable. And one question that I would have for you, something that came up during the talk, hearing you, do you think there is anyone in this world who never felt the imposter syndrome ever in their life?
I don't think that exists, because even if you're talking about the big bad evil of the world, even they must have probably felt it at a moment, like, am I evil enough to cause harm in the world, right? So like I don't think that there is a single person out there who's genuinely feeling extreme. And even if they don't feel it now, which is good, right? Like, that's the entire point of the talk. Don't feel like an imposter. But even if they don't feel it now, pretty sure it might come up sometime in the future. It happens whenever you're starting something new, right? It still comes for me, literally. That's what I was telling. Like, I have overcome my imposter so many times, and my imposter keeps coming back for different reasons. So I feel like everyone must have felt at a point they have felt like an imposter. But I can't then again go and say that yes, you have felt like an imposter. It's a it's my perspective. I don't think, like, if someone out there hasn't felt like an imposter, kudos to you. Like, genuinely kudos to you, because now you have the tool. Even if you do feel like an imposter, you know how you can overcome it by listening to your stories.
Thank you so much, Madhurima. I fully agree with you. And I love everything you said and all the stories. And I can fully relate to everything you mentioned. And my thing, I would say, in order to overcome it, because definitely I always feel like that, because I am jumping from one thing to another, really doing everything new. So definitely this fear keeps coming. But something that I do all the time is to take action. Whenever I feel the fear, I take action, because I know that there is a growing opportunity. And I know that when I started also these talks, for example, we had the first session, I was nervous, now it's getting better. So the practice always helps. This is from my experience in terms of public speaking or other fears that I had in the past. Do you think that people could actually start doing more of this, to start somehow overcome that fear and take action? Because I know that many times we are stopped by that fear and we don't dare to take action. We don't know how to take action. Do you have any tips for us in that direction?
I have a couple of tips. So recently, I was actually literally yesterday, I was doing interview for my podcast, and there's this woman who spoke to me, and she said that fear can mean two things. It is either forget everything and run, or face everything and rise, right? So like, what are you going to choose? And while I would say that it's a great message, face everything and rise, it's still not easy, right? So I feel like at the end of the day, all you have to do is talk to yourself. Your fears come from within yourself. So you have to look into why these fears are originating in the first place. What's causing them to originate? It's again about listening to yourself, communicating with yourself. And even then, even if you know the entire story that you're saying, even if you know how it's originating and you still can't kind of get rid of the fear, my suggestion would be to get help, right? It's so crucial. You don't get weakened by your power. In fact, you get strengthened by the opportunity to ask people for help. um, I'll give you an example. Recently I was on a hot seat live. Basically, I was invited on a live to ask a question, and I was talking about how I can convert clients better from the content that I'm creating. And I was speaking about how I create content on burnout, and someone commented, oh, so you're getting burnt out while creating content over burnout. And I was like, no, I'm not, but I am enabling myself, I'm putting myself in a place that avoids that situation altogether. I'm asking for help now so that I don't get burnt out when I'm creating content, right? I didn't get offended by it, because it's a very common assumption that, oh yeah, you got burnt out while creating content around burnout. But I was also like, see, that's the thing. I am in awareness that fear exists, that fear of, oh my god, I'm a burnout coach, I help people with burnout, and what if I only get burnout? But the reality is I get burnout a lot of times, right? It's about being in that awareness and acting on it as quickly as possible. If I feel like there's a possibility of me getting burnt out in the future when I'm creating content, I'm seeking help right now on how I can overcome it.
I
So
love it.
that's the thing. At the end of the day, I feel like awareness is really amazing, but it doesn't matter unless you act on it.
Absolutely. I love this, because actually it's something that I realized recently, is that every coach is talking or coaching other people based on a topic or an obstacle they overcame themselves.
Yeah.
So I would say, if I have to understand why that person picked that subject, I only have to refer to their story, and I will right away understand it. And
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much,
There's
Madhurima.
this thing, before you end it, like there's a message in your mess, right? There's
Yeah.
a message in your mess. So a lot of people utilize that, and that's the reason why I'm doing this talk. Like, even if you are messing up right now, it's a message for the people who are going to come behind you, who are going to start later than you. So you have the opportunity to create that space and help people as much as you can, using the story that is, again, once again, handwritten on your soul. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Madhurima. Thank you once again. I am grateful to have you here in this talk, and I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to learning more from you in the future.
For sure. Thank you so much, Diana, for having me here. It was a great opportunity. Hey, lovely people, how did you enjoy that talk? I hope that you resonated with it. I hope that you had some fun takeaways from it. Here's what I want you to ask yourself when you're reflecting back on this talk. Number one, have you ever experienced this before? Number two, what story have you been telling yourself? Once again, something from the talk. What story have you been telling yourself? What did you experience in terms of feelings and emotions when you were going through the imposter syndrome? And just to keep you accountable, the fourth question would be this: how are you planning on acting on this awareness of being in the imposter syndrome or having the imposter syndrome? Type your response down in the comments so that I know that you're doing this work. I know that you're being accountable to the work, and let's get going. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you. Thank you for staying till the end. And once again, if you want to take a deeper dive into not only this, but the other triggers, the cocktail of triggers, if you will, that is kind of leading you towards the path of a burnout, reach out to me. We'll have a conversation. I have an amazing 7-step coaching process called Freedom, which is a part of my coaching program, Agni. It's fire, baby. Agni basically means fire. So the coaching program is fire. We will be lit. We will have an amazing time. And you will have an amazing process to work on yourself post the coaching program so that you can still continue to expand yourself, to grow yourself, and to finally experience freedom. With that, I will see you in the next episode, where we will be speaking about another burnout trigger. And after that, oh God, oh, I'm so excited. I'm giving you a sneak peek as to what's happening. After the video that comes out tomorrow, I will take a deeper dive on the stress curve. There's a technical scientific name that, if I'm not pronouncing wrong, it's called Yerkes-Dodson curve, but it's basically the stress curve. And we will talk about the relationship of stress and performance. And it's so, so exciting. I'm so hyped. I have been researching on this topic for like the past week. So I have a lot of information that I want to give you guys. I'm super excited for it. And I'll see you tomorrow. Hope you resonated with this video. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye, guys. Bye, 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 bye.